As I looked out into the deep blue sea from my small airplane window, I realized what I just done. I just left my entire life back in America and packed everything into 2 suitcases and flew over to Thailand in the hopes of becoming a beauty queen. All throughout my childhood, I wanted to be a beauty queen. Not because it was pretty, but I loved the feeling of winning. I always felt that adrenaline rush, rushing through my veins. Every time I won, I would feel, this is what I want. It was that rush. I was addicted to it. But the thing is, I realized after that, it's not all about just winning. It's much more than that. And so when I arrived in Thailand, many people asked me, why did you pick Thailand? Aren't you an American citizen? Can't you just compete back at home? And I said, yes, I can. But the thing is, I always grew up in a Thai household. We had Thai values, traditions, and cultures at all times. So I felt like Thailand was my home. I felt connected to my roots. So obviously, I wanted to represent my country, or a place that I call my home. So once I arrived in Thailand, I realized that preparing for the pageant was the toughest part. I would go hours on hours walking in high-heeled shoes. And then they would create blisters on my feet. And the next day I would have to walk all over them again, creating blisters on blisters and horrid, bloody wounds. Not only that, but my legs and my back hurt. And it wasn't just physical pain. It was also mentally exhausting. I had to meet up with a pageant coach. And yes, we have those. And he was self-proclaimed. And as he was interviewing me, I realized this is not going good. It's going downhill because he was so unkind to my family and the way I was raised, and my brother who grew up with autism, or autism spectrum disorder, as we all know. And to me, it hurt. And he called me not special, which I agreed with. I'm not special. I'm just your normal everyday girl. Back at home, I worked for 11 to 12 hours a day at a restaurant to pay for my tuition and to buy myself a car. And to me, that's something I should be proud of. Being normal is great. But then what he said next was like a slap to the face. He said, you're never going to win this competition because you think the world revolves around you. That was a slap to my face. I realized, is this the path that I want to be on? Is this what I want? People degrading me every day? But it was too late to back out. I had already auditioned and my first pageant was on the horizon. Final night came and I fell short. I ended up at the top 10. And to me, I felt embarrassed. I was in shock. My ego was shaken. And I felt myself falling into a downward spiral. For 3 days, I was alone. I was disconnected from everything, social media, from reality, from the people around me. But those 3 days were important. Those 3 days I spent sitting, recollecting, reflecting, and meditating. And I realized, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad. That night, what I reflected on was, I joined a pageant when I was 16. And after I won that pageant, we went to a children's hospice for a Christmas toy drive. We went with our crowns, we went with our sashes, and we went all beautiful, me and my sister queens. We brought toys, books, stuffed animals, everything you can think of. And we played with the children. And then it was time to leave. And as I was walking out the door, all I can hear was someone wheeling their wheelchair as fast as they could right at me. And I turned around, and it was this little girl, and her arms were raised at me, and I knelt down to hug her. And then I realized, maybe being a beauty queen isn't about crowns, isn't about sashes. It's not about winning. It's not about being the most beautiful. It's more than that. It's what you do after you win. It's what you give back to society. So that night, I decided to change my mindset. I realized I want to live my life dedicated to a purpose. I don't want to be blinded by the word success anymore. So that's exactly what I did. And that was the start of my journey to being Miss Thailand World. In the short time I had to prepare, what I did was I started a foundation for kids with ASD. And it all stemmed from my brother because he was raised with so much love and support from the community and our family and our friends. And I wanted all children to feel that way, no matter if they had disabilities or anything that they felt was impaired on their body. I wanted them to feel that they are loved and they're supported. So I named my foundation Love for All. And I brought that with me into the competition. The competition was long and it was tough, but it was invigorating. There was a challenge, a new challenge every day, literally. Speech competitions, modeling competitions, and so many more. That's just naming a few. And I was up against some of the most amazing women in Thailand. So all I could do before final night was I sat on my bed and I prayed. I was like, you know what? Anything that destiny gives, anything the world gives me, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to try to let go, not take control of everything, and realize that my purpose is just to bring light to an issue I held so dear to my heart. It's not about winning anymore. It's more than that. So that's the mindset I took with me into the competition. And as the night came, it was fast. It went by quick. I went through to the top 30, top 12, and then it was time to announce the winner. I remember the words clearly. Miss Thailand World 2018 is Nicolene Pichapa Limsnukan. And at that moment, I didn't know what to do. I cried, firstly, and I looked out into the audience. I saw my friends, I saw my family and my loved ones. And they were all jumping and they were all cheering. And for me, what I felt was, as the crown was coming from stage left, I realized that moment the crown touched my head, I had a responsibility. Not only to myself, not only to my family, but to my country. I had to be a good representative and be the best that I could be. My next journey was Miss World. That year it was going to be held in Sanya, China. And it'd be my first time in China, and we had so many things to do before, interviews, fittings, photo shoots, on top of preparing for one of the toughest pageants in the world. The number ones from every country are coming to compete together. And to me, that was a lot of pressure. I was nervous. And that's just being honest. I don't know anyone who wasn't nervous for that competition. And it would be one whole month that we would be staying with our other delegates. And the first week was auditions. I was lucky enough to be chosen as the person who opened the show for Miss World, called the Dances of the World, with my color guard flag routine. This was amazing. For me, this was so special because Thailand had never been in this part of the show. And so I was more than proud, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to make my home country proud. And the next weeks started going by slower and slower. What happened was, everybody was started to getting tired and homesick. And I was too. So what I did was, I remembered those 3 days. And through all the practice, through all the insanity of being in a big, huge group of girls, I found peace before bed every night. And to me, that was my time to reflect, to think, and the next morning, even though I had to wake up 2 hours, 3 hours later, I was refreshed, I was renewed, I was ready to go. And final night was coming. And that night, my mom came to visit me in the hotel lobby. And the moment I saw her, I cried. And she kind of just looked at me and she said, "It's okay, Nicole. You just do your best and enjoy your moment on stage." I know, simple words. But those were the same exact words she said to me before every single competition in my life. And that relieved me of all the pressure, all the weight on my shoulders I felt was lifted. And I went into final night, and as the spotlight splashed onto my body, the music started. My adrenaline was rushing. I heard the music, and all I could think about in my head was, please don't drop the flag. Just don't drop the flag. And thankfully, I caught every toss. And I realized, this is great. This is all I've ever wanted. And then I got into the top 30. They announced Thailand. And I was like, wow, I wonder if this is going to end right here, because the entire continent of Asia was competing with me. And then they announced Thailand into the top 12. I was like, oh, okay, we're back in the game, I guess. And it wasn't just that, it was time for Q&A. So when I got that microphone, they handed the microphone to me, I spoke about my brother. I spoke about love for all. And I spoke about the people I loved and what I wanted to do for the world. And I felt, this is my purpose. This is what I was meant to be and meant to do. And I realized I just accomplished one of my biggest goals. And I realized this is it for me. I don't need to go any further than this. Then they announced Thailand into the top 5. I was so shocked. I had no reaction on my face except excitement and glee, and I was happily laughing on stage, enjoying my moment, because finally Thailand made it into top 5. It hasn't happened for so long. But what happened next knocked me off my high-heeled shoes. Julia Morley, the CEO and chairman of Miss World, said, "The runner-up of Miss World 2018 is Thailand." And in that moment, I couldn't even make a regular face. I couldn't even smile. And as I walked to the front of the stage, I told myself, you just ended a 36-year drought for Thailand. We have never been this close to the crown before. And I realized, this is what it feels like to accomplish a goal and your dreams. But then it was so much more than that. It's indescribable. The winner was called as Mexico, and we all hugged and we all cried and cheered together and sang. And it was one of the best moments of my life. So I want to leave you all with this. I've competed my entire life, comparing myself to others at all times. I've always wanted to be better than others. I want to be one step ahead. But ask yourself, is that what you really want? Why don't you live in the moment? Enjoy where you are right now. Is this where you want to be? Is this what you want to do? You create your own world. You create your own destiny. So have no fear and just go for it. Thank you very much.